Glad to have you here for this session all about using WhoFi's question sets. I'm Bonnie McEwen with the Northwest District, and Eunice Riesberg, you saw her, maybe you still do, with the Northeast District, and you're about to meet our speakers for this session. Just a few little housekeeping things before we move to the material. Please use the chat space if you would for any questions you'll have for our speakers. Eunice and I will eyeball the chat space. It flies by pretty quickly, but we'll do our best to call attention to any questions you have and make sure our speakers are aware of those questions if they don't see them themselves. You do have the opportunity to turn on closed captioning if that will be convenient for you. You'll see the closed captioning button available at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And at the end of our time together this afternoon, I will include a link into the chat space, giving you the link to the ILOC evaluation survey. Please fill that out at the point during the conference today when the conference is kind of finished for you. If this happens to be right now, the last session you can attend, then certainly complete the evaluation. But if you can stay with us throughout the day and even into the evening when we have an evening program coming up that starts at 6 o'clock, just finish the evaluation when the program is finished for you. In the meantime, we're glad to have you here for ILOC 2025. Samantha Bowers has described this conference as the conference when ILOC is now old enough to vote. I kind of like that. Kind of like that description. This session is brought to us by Ashleigh Matos, who is a WhoFi partner advocate since 2020, and she's here to talk with us about using WhoFi question sets to organize data and to affect community change. And we just learned this morning that Ashleigh will be joined by Lena Oltman, who is the director of the Rhinebeck Public Library here in Iowa. Lena is here as a real-life testimonial. She can tell us all about her experience in using WhoFi question sets. So who better than these two to lead us through this topic? Let me say, though, first that if you're not familiar with WhoFi, maybe most of you are since you chose this program, but if you're not, please do visit the WhoFi page on our website. And if your library isn't taking advantage of this WhoFi service, it's brought to you entirely by the state library. It's a resource that the state library pays for and provides to Iowa public libraries. So do take advantage of it if you're not yet a WhoFi customer. You will want to be after you hear this presentation. There are no better customer service reps out there in the business, I believe, than the WhoFi customer service reps. So with that, Ashleigh and Lena will let you take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate that introduction. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. Well, great. Hello, and thank you for having me during your conference today. It is an honor to be speaking with you today, as our conversation today will be a wonderful reflection of the progress of our partnerships so far. WhoFi is very thankful for the opportunity to serve your library today. My name is Ashleigh Matos, and I am a lead partner advocate here at WhoFi. When I started at WhoFi in 2020, I learned all about this state survey that libraries fill out every year and what the general sentiment was around that survey. You guys had shared with us what current routines looked like to be able to fill out the survey, as well as your dreams and desires surrounding what you wish you could do with the data. If only there was a more efficient use of your time to gather the data and use it throughout the year. Throughout our conversations with libraries and the state data coordinators, it became clear that those who fill out the survey desired a much easier way to accomplish the state's goal of survey submission and also the library's goal of gleaning information about how the library served their community this past year. Hand in hand, WhoFi used library insight and feedback to design and build question sets. Question sets is a feature set that is made available to every public library in Iowa, just like Bonnie said, thanks to the State Library of Iowa's partnership. Question sets helps your library collect data on a daily or monthly basis from all staff members, produce visually appealing board reports when desired, and populate answers into the state annual survey when it comes time to report. More on how to use question sets will be provided near the end of our breakout today. Now, when I started preparing for this breakout, I reached out to Iowa Public Libraries to see what their stories were around this topic. And I asked them, why do you use question sets to assess data, analyze it, and act on a regular basis? I heard back from over 25 passionate library staff that were eager to share their stories with you so that you can glean the same benefit that they have experienced. On our agenda today for this breakout, we will be diving into what your neighboring libraries have to say about their experience with question sets. Then we will get to the chance to listen to Lena Altman, the director at Rhinebeck Public Library, about her success story just from using question sets. Last, we will dive into a short demo of question sets so that you can get started today. So let's see what they had to say. My first question for the libraries was, why use question sets to assess your data? Some libraries started with expressing what life was like without question sets. They outlined the benefits of utilizing technology to their best advantage, and even though it may come with a learning curve, the benefits of switching to question sets are well worth it. Gone are the days of keeping Excel spreadsheets for Jonathan. Susan had told us that each month gathering her data took hours, multiple emails, and several spreadsheets to get all of the information into a usable format. Brittany also mentioned that Excel was just difficult to keep up each year, especially with the survey changing. And Annette told us that her process was to have all of her staff put her data into a spreadsheet, and then she would take that data and put it into a Word document so that it was easier to digest. But now that her staff use WhoFi, she gets nice to read reports in just a few minutes. We can see from these stories that their other methods were not saving them time, nor providing them with the ability to see or act on trends within the data, as it was too cumbersome a process to keep, especially in 2025. With the survey changing every year, WhoFi will actually update the question sets for you, where other methods just don't have that automation. Not only do these libraries express that question sets is easier, they are gleaning more benefits than expected with automated reports and visualizations. When libraries discussed the annual survey, naturally, they shared with us that it took them weeks to fill out the survey, as they needed to look in multiple areas of their processes and other vendors to glean the data necessary to find valuable information. By using question sets little by little each month, libraries have shared with us that they were able to start and complete their survey within a week and some within a day. It is much easier to use now that question sets submits your data to the state annual survey. Allison and Jonathan told us that question sets helps tremendously when it comes time to do the survey, and they found it to be extremely helpful. And Amy's told me, no more spending hours, days, or weeks putting the information together. One of the best parts is when libraries begin to express how much question sets helps to shorten the amount of time it takes to collect the data and submit the annual survey. Lisa said that before question sets, it took her a full 40-hour work week to complete the survey, and now it takes her only a day. Sabrina said that it cuts her reporting time in half. And Allie said that she no longer has to lock herself up in her office for the last week of October. The collaboration that question sets invites staff into helps them all to contribute to the survey. When libraries save time, they can use that time to instead invest in community conversations and less time behind a desk. Question sets allows library staff time to actually use the data to make strategic decisions. One of the challenges we heard from libraries was that data just felt like it was all over the place. Using their feedback, we were able to design a product that helped them centralize their data. Chris wrote that it is helpful to have a one stop shop for staff to enter their data. It's all right there, all in one place, rather than managing dozens of Excel spreadsheets just juggling the data. Megan appreciates that she no longer has to go into each individual website to find her answers. It's now all in one spot. Question sets helped Susan centralize her data, and now she can focus on trends for decision making. And Ali expressed that it takes the pressure off of her to be able to provide methods to her staff in order to track the data. Throughout our conversations with Ali, she mentioned that she was doing all of the data collection herself, just hand entering it all. Now that she uses question sets, she has the ability to dedicate views to her staff. That way, when her staff log into WhoFi, they only see the questions that they are responsible for. This helps to ease the burden for Ali and focuses more on the strategic planning for her library. Not only does Question Sets offer a copy of the state annual survey's data points, but you can also add your own locally kept data points to keep it all in the same place. By reviewing your processes, this can help the library figure out which statistics actually matter to the library. As the first year of question sets passed for Iowa, we started to hear more about what that learning curve really looked like to get started to use question sets and how useful it was to make a routine that works for the library. Lisa chooses to input her data monthly to simplify her reporting, where Jensen puts in her data in daily to compare to previous timelines. And Wendy wrote that just a small amount of time each morning saves her so much time in the long run. We can see from our library stories that some find it helpful to enter in the data on a daily basis, while others enter their data monthly. We encourage you to find a routine that works best for you and your staff. The libraries that expressed that they were able to make a habit to fill out their data on a routine that works for them, whether that be daily or monthly, expressed that doing this throughout the year, instead of just getting one number at the end of the year, had provided opportunities for improvement in the middle of the year that they may not have noticed earlier. Lisa is able to try out different nights or new programs to help increase her adult participation. If she didn't make data tracking a routine, she may not have noticed the dip in adult participation. Megan's monthly question sets helps her see trends that she is then able to assess what areas to review for her future plans. Sabrina checks her trends for staffing purposes, and Allison compares her data to other months so that she can discuss them with her board and adapt accordingly. Some of the libraries that were able to keep an eye on these trends shared that they had shared some success stories that came out of that. Kate noticed an increase in their usage of a makerspace cart, which led to her being able to communicate a narrative that is more than just door counts. Megan mentioned that the fact that they have more patrons through the door than the population of her town many months was quite telling to her board. Jessica realized that they were consistently breaking records on their checkouts month after month. Seeing the trends now have led some to be able to make a change in their spending decisions. Chris mentioned that he was able to make his own custom question set, which helps them determine the most effective methods of their advertising. Megan uses her question sets to help decide whether they need to allocate their budget to different areas. And Susan appreciates question sets so that they can make informed decisions to prioritize spending in specific areas. By keeping track of their data in question sets, staff have been able to take advantage of the on-demand reports that we offer, as well as designing their own board reports to reuse for their meetings. This helps the library communicate results from their data collections. Amy agrees that question sets helps makes presenting numbers to the board much easier. And Paulette also sees the value that it provides to her community. Kayla loves how easily question sets creates the extremely visual friendly graphic of her circulation. Megan's director shares snapshots of their performance via a monthly report that comes out of her question sets. And Susan noticed that with the data that she's providing, her board was able to start to ask more informed questions over time. By finding a routine and a process that works for the library, Question Sets now automates board reports and visualizations to present the results, and that helps lead to advocacy for the library. Tim is so thankful that the state provides WhoFi to them. Their board is able to see how the library benefits the community, and they're really able to show their worth. Jessica's data tracking efforts told a story that led to a great feature on their library in their local newspaper. Megan uses Question Sets data on meeting room usage so that she can defend the need to expand her library. And Sabrina loves that her small town is able to see the library's value. They were actually quite surprised to see that the library was being used as much as they were. This then brings the library staff confidence to engage their stakeholders in a meaningful way in the evaluation process of their changes. Now, we do have some very creative library partners who were excited to share with us some of the visualizations that they put together themselves outside of question sets. But by using the data in question sets, the process of creating these infographics were eased. And I know Lena has one for us later. Jessica had shared with us that breaking those circulation records became a feature in her annual report and provided a copy to me of her beautiful infographic. She was easily able to point out her increases in usage and made this infographic really effective. Jonathan creates a wrapped list, similar to what Spotify provides, to highlight her statistics to the public. And using question sets helped make this so much easier to put together. I think these look really nice. Now we've come to my favorite part, where I have the pleasure to share some of the success stories that libraries have shared with us. I am so honored to showcase how other libraries used data and evaluations to create or modify library services and facilities. Here we go, one more. There we go. Kate wrote that she is a new director in a rural town, and WhoFi had been so beneficial in her onboarding journey. The data collection provided her with insights into successful outreach events, programming, and collection development. It's really impactful to see that question sets helped a new director in their onboarding process. By utilizing question sets, you are setting up future staff for success. Kate was able to read the reports and jump right into the previous processes that the director had and make improvements where needed. In fact, if your library is already using the community calendar, you already have a leg up on the data entry, as WhoFi syncs all of your community calendar answers into question sets for you, and that answers the entire programming category for you. Lisa shared that her WhoFi data helped her secure $5,000 in grant money that was used for improvements to their outdoor space and providing stronger Wi-Fi. Lisa's efforts in data collection paid off, literally, and showed the worth of the library to be granted this blessing. By improving their outdoor spaces, her library is able to impact her community further. Emily shared about a time when the library was getting some pushback from City Hall for leaving the Wi Fi on 24/7 due to a negative perception about it maybe causing problems. Her WhoFi data was able to confirm the need for 24/7 Wi Fi. And not only that, she was able to expand her signal to reach a nearby park so that patrons could enjoy free internet and nature. It's wonderful to see that this library is able to allow patrons to enjoy outdoor spaces and the internet at the same time. I like to imagine that everybody's out on the front lawn with their beach towels and they're enjoying everything the library has to offer. Julie shares that she uses the data to advocate for her small library in showing what they do. She said that it's a good way to prove that you're worthy and that libraries do warrant the money. It helps her prepare for presentations because she knows what she's asking for and she has the data to back it up. By keeping track of her library data, Julie is able to tell a story of what's happening in her library and advocate for how important it is that the library interacts with the community. Jake wrote that the data has already contributed to the development of several new programs and daily activities. They developed two new programs with the more accurate data to offer one on one technology appointments and appointments for research assistants, including homework help for kids. This one really warmed my heart. That through Jake and his staff's efforts, they were able to analyze the data and develop more ways for the library to meet community needs. The simple act of having a routine down for data collection provided more accurate data to be able to make this decision. Now, let's hear from another success story straight from the librarian herself. I am going to invite Lena now to share her experience. Hi, Lena. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Wonderful.
Um, Hearing all of those stories and paraphrasing their experiences, I just felt like I could say me too to so many things. I'm like, yes, that was us. We talk about onboarding. I was a new director at the Rhinebeck Public Library in 2022. And there was a gap before the director before. And so annual survey came around that I was made aware of at a countywide meeting of the other libraries. They're like, hey, how you doing on your survey? And I'm like, come again? And so, of course, like panicking and figuring out talking, Jay was great to help me through it. But I was going to an Excel spreadsheet. I was learning how to use Destiny at the time, Follett Destiny, and to grab those reports and trying to get those numbers on a whole picture was just, I'll just say it was a nightmare. I am a firstborn overachiever. I am very much community outreach and programming is my passion, and this was more of the structural side. And so, of course, I knew it was something that was beneficial. I know the value of data, but collecting it and organizing it, I'm sure we all know, is just a nightmare because you're operating. You're here in the daily. You are talking to patrons. You're engaging, and it's hard when you're being interrupted. So, anyways, when WhoFi came around, so I muddled through that first year. And then when WhoFi came around, I'll be honest, I opened it the first time to look in how I was when they made the changes to reflect the state survey, and I went, whoa, this is a lot. But as I sat down and went, okay, I'm going to do this, my overachiever brain was like, I'm going to answer every single question, whether I need it or not, because I don't want to miss an ounce of information that I could utilize. Is that necessary? No, absolutely not. And if you are looking at it and getting overwhelmed, back up and just do the stuff that you need. If it's monthly, perhaps it really truly is yearly. I was talking to a great librarian who loves to collect data and to utilize it well. And she loved being able to compare the daily staff hours to the programming they put out, to the circulations, to justify the time that the people were in the building and how much output they got. I would have cried. Just because that would have been a lot to actually see how much did you actually work, how much, and should we move people around? I want to create a process. I want to learn the process, and then I want the process to do its job and be a routine. And that's how I'm most successful. So, when I first started using it, hopped in, figured it out. I've even changed this year because when I first started doing it, I relied on that monthly a lot more. I didn't use a lot of the daily data because it was overwhelming to me as I was learning. This year, I have been using the daily a lot more because it was really nice to see. Right now, we are talking about adding some late night hours, making sure to have a library that's accessible to those who are working for a shift. And it's really nice to be able to look at those daily checkouts now that we are trying it in February. I'm excited to see, do those children's circulations change on those Monday nights specific that we're open for those later hours? And without the daily, I couldn't reflect that number. Another, let's see, I lost where we were. So yeah, don't be overwhelmed when you first get into it, and also know that you only have to use it as much as you want to. It is a resource. It's not more expectation. It's not a benchmark. It is 100% a resource. Put away your Excel spreadsheets. You don't have to build the process anymore. And the nice thing was, once I figured it out, and I even create cheat sheets for myself of the daily reports because I work with Apollo now, and to pull adult fiction, to pull children's fiction. I want to see those daily numbers to see if maybe we need to do programming on those days to increase our young adult circs and to tie that to a program. I have cheat codes of what to click. So once I did all that, then I handed it off because I guarantee you, you work with staff members who are different personalities than you. And I want to engage with people. I want to dream, create. And there are people who love to check things off, who want to do things routine. And so everybody has their own way of doing their daily sheets. So ours is simply a piece of paper. Sam kind of mentioned that she has to do digital and she has to have something written down. That's me too. I have to use the piece of paper. It's there. I based it off of our annual survey, and when WhoFi came out with all the questions, I based my new sheet off of that data and what we wanted to grab each day. And so then they turn it in at night, and the next morning we have people who will enter it in for us. And so, because even our library pages, which is more a high school aid, they're looking for something to sit down. So they could do it daily. When I'm doing it myself, I prefer to do it daily. Or they can go and play catch up and they can sit down and each day work on that. The daily question sets, as well as that community calendar updating. We have that on our same daily statistics thing. So then it's not overwhelming. I love the community calendar. I love being able to input in there and mimic it. We create our regular calendar through Canva. And then we take all of that information. I'm able to hand it to our library page, and she will transpose that information on our library calendar. She marks it off. So it's a task that I may be starting, but with my team, they can finish. So it's not overwhelming. You had asked how I've used this to financially benefit us.
Yeah.
Well, when I first started, I was a little concerned because they hired a programming and outreach librarian, and they didn't have a line item for a programming budget. And so I was like, whoa, how are we going to do this? I had come from a library that I had just worked with them to start up a youth teen program and had in the last year there taken over all of the youth to programming from 0 to 5, 6 to 11, and 12 to 18. And so we had a stockpile of supplies and resources and past grants of like Legos and such, where this library, they just hadn't done that yet. And so I had to apply for a grant because I couldn't not do what I know how to do. And I used the data that I currently had, to show what in the few programs we were doing with the few resources we had on hand, how that changed and affected circulation. I didn't have to wait for the annual survey numbers to fully come out to gather that. I was able to use what I had in WhoFi to show, okay, look, I had a program this day. Look how much we had new patron signups. We had this many more circulations. I was able to show that programming and growth in people coming into the building go hand in hand, and usage of the library resources go hand in hand. So that grant was, I believe, $7,800. And they said they don't normally invest in something that they consider a staple in a library, or that you should be doing anyways, and your city should be funding. They said, but we believe that if you can get it running, because that was my pitch, as I said, if you invest in me now and people can see what it does, I promise you, I can get other people in the community to invest to sustain. It'll be easier to go to my city. So after that, they carried me through, and I went to my city for budget time, and I used the data to be able to increase our budget. We were sitting at that time where our city had invested $66,000 into our library. We are a town of 1,600 people, nice small town with big heart. Though they be little, they are fierce. So at that time, they had invested $66,000. I was able to come to them and show them the growth of our library using the statistics. So what I had done, I wonder if, here, I can show you. So I created a nice little graphic. This is actually from this year. Am I able to share screen? Yes. Okay.
Okay, great.
I will do that.
Wonderful.
Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. Okay.
Almost.
Can you see it?
I can now. There you go.
Okay. All right. So this is the graphic I created, all from numbers that I used from WhoFi. And this was for that fiscal year 23. And I was able to show that growth. We went from 8,000 door count to 14,000, a 77% increase. Why? And I had to be able to show, look at this programming. We went from 0, 12 to 18 programs and 0, 6 to 11 programs that year to 71, 12 to 18 programs. 36 to 11 programs, 87 adult versus the 24 before, and 96 versus the 85. They had a wonderful story time that they did weekly, and it was a part of their routine. And able to show that with that 160% increase in program, that turned into a 122% increase in program attendance. So I'm able to take these numbers that came from one source. I didn't have to stress or scramble about getting those numbers, and was able to tell the story that I needed to tell for the resource that I needed. I needed money for programming. So the city, after seeing this, and also they now get the board reports that show who's all attending programs and how many programs. So it was really fun because this year they've gotten used to my routine. I gave it to them again, and I had a lot of fun to say, your library is open 6 days a week, and yet they were able to put on 365 days of programming. So just to show how, again, though we be little, we are fierce. We're doing a lot with what you're giving. And so they did invest in our little library, and they went from a $66,000 investment to they gave us $82,000 city investment that next year. So again, that they were like, this is valid. They even made a comparison. They went showing how many people we had through the door and how many program attendants. And they're like, well, we have our firefighters, they do 2 calls a month per year. And so thankfully with that, they didn't have to rearrange a lot of funding, but they had to make some tough decisions, and they were going for what we're investing and giving back to our community. The library is really showing to be a really good return of investment. And I just thought, yes, let me show you my numbers. So.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing, Lena. I really appreciate it. I was inspired by our last conversation, and again, I can hear your passion coming through again. So I really appreciate you joining and paraphrasing what we talked about.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, so I've got a few minutes left. I'm going to try and screen share now. Can you see it? Back at my slides?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Lena. Cool. I don't know how to follow that. That was just a wonderful story. Great. So you might be asking yourself, how do I get in on this? This sounds wonderful. I'm excited to see what question sets looks like. So very quickly, I am going to walk you through a short demo of question sets. The full demo will be in your account when you log in. On the right-hand side is this blue Help tab, and this blue Help tab is available on every page of WhoFi. And if you scroll at the bottom, will be the question sets tutorial to our YouTube channel. So you can watch someone else walk you through it. It's me again. Walk you through all of the steps and question sets. But really quickly, when you log into your WhoFi account, you'll just go to whofi.com and log in. On the left, you'll have this question sets drop down. And if we choose all questions, this is going to take us to your sets of questions. You'll have an option in here that will say the Iowa Public Survey, and you can click on it. And one of the things that we did change very recently is now that you have the daily, monthly, and annual options inside the question set instead of 3 options before. So if you remember, that did change. If you don't remember, that's great. This is your new normal. So at the top left, we will see all of these wonderful categories that are available for you to fill in your information for collection and library transactions. And this is an exact copy of the state annual survey, and we will keep up with what changes happen for you. And over here on the left, we can click on monthly, and you can enter in your data on a monthly basis or even on a daily basis for whatever you see is appropriate for your routine. We'll see in the programming tab that there are these gray boxes. These are the numbers that are syncing from your community calendar into question sets. So you'll see that your data is syncing over here. So technically you've already started with question sets if you didn't realize it. Your Wi-Fi statistics will also transfer into here. I believe it's under library transactions. It's in here somewhere. Maybe library collection, but I'm not going to dig for it. We'll also notice at the top right a drop down to be able to change your year. You should see multiple fiscal years in your question set so that you can see and hold on to all of your historic data. Now, we mentioned earlier that you would have the ability to add users and create a view specific for those users. That way, when they log in, they only see what they're responsible for. On the left-hand side under Setup is where you're able to add and manage your users. You get to pick which services of WhoFi you want them to have access to, such as Community Calendar, question sets, meeting rooms, or a combination of those services. And you can assign views to that user. To create a view, very quickly, we'll click on this pencil icon, and we can create a view down here, such as a collections view or a clerk view, where you get to pick and choose the category or the questions you want them to have access to. And when they log in, it'll look something like this. They'll have only the categories and questions that they need to be able to see, and even daily and monthly, they'll be able to enter in that information. Now for reporting, so that you can get those visualizations and bring those reports to your board meetings, on the left under question sets is an option here for on-demand reports. And in here, you can choose to generate reports, and I've already got one ready for you. So over here, after you click generate reports, it's going to take you to this screen where you get to pick to create a chart that is a daily chart, a monthly, or an annual chart so that you can compare timelines. You can look at as many years as you have data into your WhoFi account. And we will see a graph that shows you your peaks and your valleys of your data so that you can make decisions using that information. And under filter is where you're able to pick the category and the question you'd like to get a report on. Now on the left-hand side, we will see an option for board reports. So I'm gonna go back over here, question sets, board reports. This is where you are able to design and build your own reports that you would like to take to your meetings. I'll show you some examples first. So here are some examples. We have 3 different designs that you are available to pick from. So this is called our 4x2 because there's 4 questions and 2 columns. You are able to pick the icons and the questions that belong into this report. And when you generate it, it's going to provide you with this month compared to last month. Now, we had some libraries ask to add even more questions to this report. So this is our 8x2 report so that you can have more information, on one page. And our last design is just the 4x1. It's 4 questions on one page. And on this one, you get a nice little bar chart that will explain to you same month prior year compared to last month and the most recent month. I meant to fill this in for you so that you could see the graphs. So if you want a better example, reach out to me later. How do we get these reports? You will be able to click on the reports that you would like to generate, and we will choose Generate Report, and you get to pick the year and the month that you want the data to be pulled for. How do we design reports? We will go to Add Report Template. You'll get to name it whatever you'd like. You get to pick the question set you would like your data to be pulled from. And here is where you get to pick that type, 4x1, 4x2, and the 8x2. And it will then take you to a design screen similar to this one. So you'll see your example over here on the right so that you know what you're designing. And over here, you get to pick the questions with these drop downs. And sometimes the questions are a little too long. So you have this option here to give it a nickname so that you can shorten it on your report. And here is where you're able to pick those icons. And really, all you have to do is design your report one time, and then you're able to generate it month after month as you need it. Other benefits that you get out of question sets is the ability to import any of your historic data. That way it doesn't feel like you're starting on a blank slate. If you reach out to our service team, we'd be happy to help you import that data. And we heard earlier from Chris at Pella Public Library that he created his own custom question set. So not only will you have the ability to add data for your state survey, but up here at the top right, you can create your own question set, organize it by category, and add your own questions with their own frequencies, whether that be daily, monthly, or an annual question. Wonderful. So that was my very short demo. So let's go into our presentation. Last few slides I've got for you is a credit slide so that we can say thank you to all the libraries who were willing to share their story, like Lena, and be able to provide me with all of these very paraphrased versions of what they experienced. So we'll roll the credits and thank all those libraries. So now it is your turn. How can you take some action today? If you're new to question sets, we'll just encourage you to log into whofi.com, check out those online tutorials, and just start entering data at a frequency that works best for you. Even small steps now will make a huge impact when it comes time to completing your survey, kind of like Lena mentioned earlier. If you're already using question sets, you can consider how to refine your process in collecting your data. Have you used those views to assign areas to your different staff? Could you build a custom question set to help tell a more compelling story to your board or city officials? And if you have any additional elements to track, we can add those into your WhoFi. And if you need any support, our team is here to help, whether you have questions about getting started or customizing your reports or maximizing the value of your data. We encourage you to reach out. You can schedule any one-on-one sessions with us to go over your setup just to make sure that you're getting the most out of this tool. So if you want to get started right away, feel free to reach out to us at these emails. We are excited to let your data work for you so that you can spend less time on reports and more time engaging with your community. So thank you for having me today.
You so much, Ashleigh, and Lena too. So glad to have you do this session. I think, Ashleigh, your demo makes this so much more understandable. And Lena, I think your testimonial makes this so much more inspirational. So I'm with you, Ashleigh. I would encourage all of you who haven't yet taken advantage of all WhoFi has to offer to please do so. I noticed in chat some time ago that many of the people would like to see samples of the documents that you shared, Lena, so that you showed on camera. So if you could just email copies of those to me, I can see that they get to Samantha and others who can add those to the ILOC webpage, if you're cool with that. Okay?
Wonderful.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
We hide questions that we don't use.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we can totally do a Q&A. Yeah. Is there time for a Q&A, Bonnie? Are we good?
I think so. I think we're good to go till 2:20. I
Okay.
think
Okay.
that's our schedule. Am I
Yeah.
right on that, Eunice? To 2:20? Yes. So yeah, if you want to demo that question, and if you want to bring up your screen share to do that, is that the easiest way to do it?
Yeah.
While you're doing that, Ashleigh, let me just put in a plug for something that I am forever encouraging Northwest libraries to do, and that is if you are in a county where you have frequent meetings of the library directors within your county, this is a classic thing to put on your next county directors meeting because I think this would be a wonderful opportunity for all libraries in any given county to learn from each other and to learn with each other how to use this question set surface. So that's just my idea for how you can maybe learn more about this within the comfort of learning it with your colleagues.
Definitely. Absolutely. I love that plug. So I'm showing my screen again. Can you see it? I just want to make sure. Cool. In your account, you'll log in and you'll see the state annual survey. We mentioned that views earlier, where you're able to create a custom view. If your login is an administrator, you can still create a view just for yourself if you don't want to see anything that's like a virtual question. There's not a way to simply say I don't answer this question, like not applicable currently, but I can definitely tell the team that you're looking to kind of simplify the view. To create those views, we'll go to the pencil icon and add a view, and this is where you'll be able to give it a name. I usually like to say something like the position, or if you want, you can call it Lena, the position of Lena. So we can say director view. I spelled that wrong. Director. And here is where you'd be able to pick the category that you want to be able to see. Like library information is just like address and phone numbers and stuff. So you don't really need to see that on a monthly basis. But maybe library transactions, that has a lot of questions in there that would be applicable for a daily and a monthly entry. So you can say all fields. I want to be able to see all of those fields, and you can add that. Or if you have specific questions, say in programming, you only want to see certain questions, you'll pick the programming category and then pick the question within here. That way you can really simplify what you're hoping to look for whenever you log in. Hopefully that helps. If you want any one-on-one on that, Judy, I'd be happy to do so.
Thank you. Anything else? We have 1 minute left, you guys. Let me make sure I pop the evaluation survey into the chat space.
I see Donetta's question while you're doing that. You regularly use community calendar, but you've not set up question sets. Can you do this yourself or do you need to reach out? You are welcome to reach out so that we can talk through what your account looks like. But when you log in, your question sets is already available for you to use. So when you log into your account, you'll go to question sets and all questions so that you can enter the data. When you get there, the Iowa survey will already be shared with your account, and all you'll have to do is click on it and go to like the monthly option or the daily option and enter in the data for the answers that you have. So under library transactions, if you have ILLs recorded or attendance, you can go ahead and start entering that in when you're ready. And if you'd like to review anything, my service team would be happy to review that with you. Thanks, Lynetta.
Right. Well, thank you also very much, Ashleigh, Lena, for taking us through best using question sets. It's such a valuable tool. We hope all of you listening in will give it a whirl yourselves. There certainly are a lot of people out there who have experience with it, so call upon your colleagues as well. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you for having me. Bye, guys.
It's our pleasure.